What's up, you guys? My name is Preston James, and you're listening to The Reflection, where we do just that for ourselves and our community so that we may lead a healthier, more positive, and productive lifestyle. Welcome back, everybody. Well, welcome back from me. I've taken more time away from an episode lately than I have wanted to. Life has been crazy. Things have been happening. I just got super busy. And it just kind of sideswiped me, right? You kind of are in the middle of things, and then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I didn't finish my episode. Oh, I'm not ready to do my next episode. And I've had the information. I've been thinking about doing this for the last 2 weeks. I always try to stay at least a week ahead of with the material that I'm going to present. So, life was lifing. That's what happened. So I hope everybody's doing well. I hope the holiday season is treating you guys well. I hope you're being able to spend time or getting time to spend, getting to spend time with your family and loved ones. Today is Saturday the 21st, so Christmas is on Wednesday. We're getting close. I'm super excited. It's the first year my daughter will be able to really kind of embrace Christmas and really have fun with opening presents and the whole Santa experience. So I'm really excited for that. My son too, but he's just not old enough to really take that in yet. But I'm really excited. So I hope you guys are as well. I know it can get crazy out there, especially with shopping. Man, shopping can get crazy, right? For me, it's not really even inside the stores or the mall or whatever. It's the parking lot. For me, it's the parking lot. It's everyone trying to cut everybody off to get a parking spot and get as close as they possibly can, when we all know we could all walk a little bit more. So we need to stop fighting for that parking spot and just get the one that we can. And if it comes up, cool, awesome, great, keep it moving. That's it. But we all look for the closest parking spot. And I get it, I do it too, but I try to catch myself. Like, if there's no parking spots, like, why do I care that there's no parking spots up front? Like, why? What's wrong with walking a little bit further? It's not like you have to walk a mile to get inside the store. Like, we make it feel like it's this like huge disadvantage we have, that we're like having to hike this journey to the store because we have to park a little bit further away than we had hoped. So, but yes, it's the parking for me during the holiday season. People are very aggressive with parking, I want to say. So, yes, please reach out to me. I hope you guys are pursuing your goals, putting one foot in front of the other. I talked to my buddy today for a while, and I'm really happy for him. I met him when I was 19 in kickboxing. I've known him. He helped me move out to California, one of my best friends. But he is pursuing his goals. He's got big things planned for the future. He told me his whole rollout and what he's planning on doing. I'm really excited for him. I couldn't be happier for him. So it's good to see people putting one foot in front of the other and pursuing those goals, trying to achieve their dreams, not being kind of bogged down by the system, as to say, and really kind of going after it and taking advantage of the life that we have. So that was really good to hear. And another thing I want to say, none of us are perfect. I know that some of us, at least for me, whenever I hear somebody talk, like somebody on TV or podcast or something like that, it always feels like they're the epitome of what they're talking about. And I want to let you guys know I am not perfect by any means. We all have our vices and the things that we do, but the point of this podcast is to encourage each other and talk about and reflect on our daily lives and how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, and how we can do better, how we can become and be a better person, be a better version of yourself. That's what this is all about. All these topics, it's about becoming a better person, a more well-rounded, educated person in this society and living the best life that we can. That's why we want to pursue these goals that make us happy, the things that we love to do, the thing that we want to do. If we're happier, the things around us are happier. We've talked about that in the podcast before, that if we're happy, the people around us are better off, so on and so forth. It's like a snowball effect, right? So that's what this is all about. So I want to let you know I am no different than anybody else. So please reach out to me. Let me know You can shoot me a text on the Apple podcast streaming platform. I'm not sure about the other ones. Or shoot me an email at thereflection.pj@gmail.com, or shoot me a message at YouTube or on YouTube at thereflection_PJ. So I would love to hear about your guys' progress, your holidays, anything that's going on. I'd love to hear about it. Kind of reflect on it together. That's what this is all about, community. So again, hopefully everything's going good. And this is episode number 8, Understanding Differences. Yes. It took me a while to get this together. Like I said, I was kind of ping-ponging around trying to get this together. And then one night I kind of just sat down and just did it, right? Do you ever have that feeling? You ever have that feeling where you're like, you know that if you just sat down and did it, you could get a lot more done and accomplished? Like, I was thinking about that. I was talking to Vanessa about that. Like, I know I accomplish a lot and I do a lot. I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of, like, my friend who I just talked about. But do you get that feeling? You're like, if I really wanted to and I really focused and I sat down and put, when the rubber meets the road, that you could really get a lot more done. I think we all feel that way. And we know, there's those times where you actually do it and you've accomplished something big and you like grinded and you got something done. And you're like, if I did that all the time or consistently, I could get so much more done. Like, you've had that feeling before of how successful you can be. Right? You've felt it, you've tasted it, you've touched it. It's like this tangible thing that you've encountered in your life. The idea is to tap into that. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. Tap into that feeling. Tap into that resource that you have within you. Now, there's lots of ways to meditate and, spiritual practices to kind of focus on that thing. And people have a different name for it in different cultures, and looking at it through different lenses and just calling it whatever they want. But you know what I'm talking about. That thing that we can all tap into. We've touched it, tasted it, felt it before. And I was really thinking about that. And I was like, yeah, I really could. It's not that I don't do a lot now, but I know I could be a lot more focused and better about stuff, which, circling back, is why this took me a minute to get this out. Episode 8. So just wanted to see. Hopefully, maybe you can relate to that. But yeah. So again, let's make our lives better. Let's do what we got to do to get to where we want to be so we can do what we want to do. And let's talk about understanding differences. All right. So what are differences? Differences are unique characteristics, traits, perspectives, or behaviors that distinguish one person, group, or thing from another. And just like the relationships episode, which I hope you had a chance to listen to, I really like that episode. I like all the episodes. I really do. It's enlightening for me. Hopefully it's enlightening for you. I always reflect on these episodes once I do them. I'm researching them, and I sit down and listen to them as a listener as well. I really do some reflection on these, and they really kind of put things into perspective for me for my life on a daily basis. So hopefully it does the same for you. But like the relationships episode, in this episode, we're going to talk about 5 different areas of differences, 5 main areas of differences that I came up with and conjured up from the information that I found. And the first area, just like relationships, like personal relationships, the first area is personal differences. What are personal differences? Personal differences are things like personality, how people think, feel, behave, like being an introvert or an extrovert. I know that I'm an extrovert. Vanessa's an introvert. Opposites attract. As I've gotten older, I've become more of an introvert with an extrovert core, right? And that terminology or vocabulary comes from Carl Jung, the famous psychologist. And I believe he worked with Freud. I think that's where he got his jumpstart, was from Freud. Don't quote me on that, but I'm like 90% sure. Anyways, so personality is something of our personal differences, just being different from one another. Abilities, our abilities, our skill sets, talents, or mental/physical ability. These are the differences, right? Experiences. That's a big one for me. Having more experience than, I don't want to say more experience than another person, but having these different experiences than other people makes us very unique, because I believe in the nurture part of the human brain, where you, like John Locke, the famous philosopher John Locke, talks about epistemology. You learn by doing things, by experiencing things. You learn not to touch the stove because it's hot. Like, no matter what, right? You tell a child, don't touch that stove, it's hot. 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, they're going to touch that stove, and then they're going to learn that it's hot. But you learn from that experience. So these experiences shape us as individuals, as people, as the unique individuals and beautiful people that we are. That sounded kind of corny, but it's true. Those experiences are personable to you. They make you who you are as a person. They are like just different life events that happen. The way you were brought up, your upbringing, your education, all this shapes your perspective and alters your lens on the world. So your experiences is a huge one for me. That's why I also highly, highly, highly encourage traveling. You get to see and experience different cultures, different people, different situations, which is a big one that helps people grow. That's what I believe. When you're traveling and you have to overcome situations, you build resilience, you're building character, which sounds kind of corny, but it's true. I always, talking about judgment, like I never judge somebody. I like to say if I do judge somebody, it's based off the moral fiber of their character. Who are they? What do they do? How do they treat other people? So, and when I say character, experiences build character for sure. So number 1 is personal differences, personality, abilities, and experiences. Number 2 is cultural differences. These are things like customs and traditions. What are customs and traditions? The different practices that people do in different cultures, or the holidays they celebrate, or rituals that they have. Holidays, obviously, like Christmas. Not everybody celebrates Christmas. That's a Christian holiday. Thanksgiving, that's American culture and American tradition and custom. Different things like birth ceremonies, different things that people do when they get married. There's dinner dates. People do different things for dinner, how they celebrate certain traditions that they have in their culture. Carnival is one that I went to in Spain. There's El Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, which is a beautiful celebration, right? They don't have Halloween, they have that. Coming of age ceremonies like quinceañeras or bar mitzvahs. Those are customs and traditions that people and cultures have that differentiate us, which I wish I knew more. And I could have, that's the thing I have to stop myself from when I'm doing some of my research, is doing like a super deep dive, because it'll consume all of my time. And if I spend too much time on it, then I won't get an episode out, and I won't be able to do the other things I need to do in a night or a day or a week or whatever. And so I can only do somewhat of a deep dive, and then I got to pull back and then write some stuff down and take some information and pass it on to you. And then hopefully you can do a deep dive yourself, and maybe you can look at different customs and traditions and different cultures and see what that's made up of, and how different it is from maybe yours or mine. So yes, customs and traditions. Also, values and beliefs are cultural differences. Values and beliefs. What various cultures prioritize in life, like family, for example. I think family is a huge one. That one, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go with my gut on this, and from my experiences and my education, I'm just gonna go with my gut, that most places in the world prioritize family. And I know that can't be true in every single culture, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure people prioritize and value family first. Things that also people could value and believe in is individual freedom. Right? Individual freedom's great. Community, or a sense of community. I think that those things are very common, whatever one it is of those three. family, individual freedom, and community. That is within the world. That is the types of values that people have throughout the world, no matter where you are. So it's going to be one of those. An example of this would be like, everyone deserves respect. Does every culture believe that everybody deserves respect? No way. I don't believe that at all. But yeah, there's no way. Not everyone deserves respect that's not viewed in every culture as something. Yes, I believe that, right? You have to give respect to earn respect, but it's like, what? I don't know how that works. Like, I have to give respect, and then if I don't get respect, then I'm not going to be respectful. But really, that's not how it is, because I'm not going to be like, yeah, you didn't give me respect, so I'm just going to like not bother with you. What? You're disrespectful to me? Maybe we exchange some words, but I'm just not gonna deal with you. I'm not gonna deal with disrespect. None of us should. That's not okay at all. So, does everyone deserve respect? To some degree, I would say, circling back, to some degree. There's another idea or philosophy is hard work leads to success. I think that's widely valued for the most part in a lot of cultures, and definitely not every culture, but hard work leads to success. I believe that to an extent. I believe that you also have to be my 5 Ps. If you remember me talking about my 5 Ps, you got to be planned, prepared. Well, let me say it like this. Planned preparation prevents poor performance. So you got to have planning and organization within that hard work so that you can be successful. If I'm just working hard with like not really an aim and focusing on something, then I don't know what that success would look like. But again, you could kind of fold all that and just say, well, what's your definition of success? Hard work leads to success. So maybe you are successful every single day at whatever it is you're hard working at, working hard at, right? Another one would be like karma. Karma is a value or belief that it comes from the Indian culture. I believe in karma. I believe that what you put out into the world, you'll get back. It's reciprocated. My mom was huge on that, or is huge on that, and I truly believe that. As I've gotten older, I'm a firm believer in karma. So values and beliefs, and this is another one. This is a big one that your values and beliefs really kind of is the core of how you kind of project out into the world and like what other people value and believe. Because if it doesn't line up with yours, it kind of takes us back and like, what? Why could they? Like, do you ever do that? Do you ever say, what? Why would that person do that? Why are they? Why would they do that? Why would they wear that? Why would they act like that? You know, like, like when someone's at the store and they do something that you think's crazy, you're like, why would someone do that? Like, why would they do that? I know that we've all had that situation before, but our values and beliefs kind of dictates how we kind of look at that, if that makes sense. And I say that because at the end of the day, that is our preconceived notion about someone or something and our biases. Basically, that's just an opinion or a belief that's typically formed before we know anything about this person, or we don't have any evidence to support why we think that, but it's just kind of this just preconceived notion or bias based on our own values and beliefs that we have about somebody else or something because of our own values and beliefs. And so we kind of are quick to judge and jump to judgment on somebody. And I know that we all do that, right? This podcast is really about just creating awareness and reflecting on those things and why we do that, and how we can be better, how we can look at that through a different lens and kind of just approach that differently in the future whenever something like that occurs, or catch ourselves in the act, catch ourselves in the moment when we're doing that. We make that quick judgment, that preconceived notion, and go, wait a second, why am I judging them? I don't know them. I don't know what's going on here. Why do I have this bias towards them right now? But yes, so circling back to culture differences. Number 2 is cultural differences. The last one on this is language and communication is one that has cultural differences. Language and communication, that can be 2 things. That can be spoken language, different languages, right? Or non-verbal cues and language. I don't know. Maybe someone can enlighten me. I don't know if waving high, shaking my hand back and forth at somebody in every single culture in the world is a term of endearment or acceptance or a sense of community and belonging or kindness. I don't know that. I don't know if a tribe in the Amazon waves hi to one another, right? I know that that's what we do. I know that's relevant in a lot of cultures, but I don't know that that's a thing in every culture around the world. I don't know that. So language and communication is a big one. I wish that I knew more than one language. I almost was fluent in Spanish and then I lost it. I came back to Estados Unidos y cuando hasta aquí, when I came back, yo no tengo una persona para practicar. So I lost it. I lost my whole foundation. It's still in there somewhere. It's still in there. But I know that in Europe, like places like Spain and France and the Netherlands, that they speak at least 2 to 3 languages. And that makes me feel lazy. That makes me feel like, oh, I think that English is the only language. No, but a lot of people speak it in the world, but I feel like we should speak more than one language. I for sure am having my kids learn Spanish. And as they learn, I'm going to pick it up as well. I know that even in Florida, that's the dominant language. That's the primary language in Florida is Spanish. I remember going there and I went to Miami and I got a tattoo in Miami and he only spoke Spanish. So that was interesting. We got it all figured out and it all worked out, but he only spoke Spanish. Side note, Vanessa and I went and got tattoos 2 days ago. We got our names tattooed. Actually, what's today? Saturday? Yesterday. We went and got tattooed yesterday. So I have her name tattooed on my hand now across my palm, which looks beautiful and amazing. So that's fun. I like tattoos. So that was, yeah. Okay, moving on. Cultural differences. So number 3, moving on from that. Number 3, another thing that's a difference is biological differences. What are these? These are your physical appearance, face, skin, body, height, weight, sex and gender, biological distinctions, gender identities, right? That's a slippery slope right now in society. So I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I am not knowledgeable enough on that. So pumping the brakes on that. And then health and genetics. So like your health conditions. My dad tried to reach out to me one time to tell me about something that was going on with him. But man, I was on my way to a Gary Clark Jr. concert at Red Rocks in Colorado and Denver with a coworker. Me and him were headed up to the show. My dad called me. Mind you, I've never talked to this guy in my entire life, but this dude just calls me out of the blue randomly, like 7 o'clock on like a Thursday night. What? Bro, what? What are you doing? He must have been high or something because he just called me and turns out he didn't leave a message, but he texted me and he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I have X, Y, and Z health conditions going on right now. And he wasn't specific about it. But he was just trying to let me know that he had a health condition. So the likelihood of me having the same thing or something very similar, the chances are high, right? So your health and genetics are connected. So your parents, if your parents have some sort of pre-existing health condition, the likelihood of you having something similar is much higher. Is it always absolute and 100%? No, but the chances are higher, right? So these biological differences, people have different ones. Even, I don't know what I was going to say there, but yeah, so you have physical appearance, sex and gender, and health and genetics. Physical appearance, we all know that's the most plain one to see with differences with people throughout the world. Facial distinctions in different cultures, skin color, skin tone, body weight, and even height. Some people are taller in some cultures, some people are shorter. So those are the most obvious physical traits that we can see, the biological differences that we can see right off the bat. And that's it for number 3. Number 3 was short. Remember, there's 5 of these. And so number four on these differences is ideological differences. This is kind of a tough one. I was talking to somebody about this and they asked me, well, what does that really mean? And I was like, that's a good question. I haven't had to explain that before. And that is a good question. And if you don't know what that is, you think of it like this, like your ideological differences, like idea. What's your idea? What do you think about? Like, and I try to narrow it down. So it's more like, what do you think about like your political view about the world? Like your idea about the world and how things work, like your political views or your religious beliefs. That's your your ideology. How do you see the world? How do you process and interpret things? Your ideology about something, and you can break that down like to something specific. But for this instance, we're talking about political views and religious beliefs, like how you see laws and policies, what faith you practice, just your spirituality, your worldview. Like I said, and this really shapes how you see the world and process the world. What your political belief is, what your religious belief is, right? That really inspires your thinking about people, cultures, differences, similarities. It speaks volumes about how you process the world. And is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. It's a great thing. But we need to be aware of these things. That's the thing. So if I think one way about someone or something or some culture, I need to ask myself why I think that way. It's very important. It's very important because there's a lot of negativity out there with people and not accepting or not having this acceptance of other people because of something that's different. And usually it's just like a political view or a religious view. And in my opinion, it should be more based off of how people treat you, how they treat other people, and the things that they say, more or less, right? What they do, their actions, their words, not necessarily what they believe. And that can get a little dicey, right? So I don't want to touch too much on it. In this show, I will not talk about politics and religion. I support it all. I do. So do you. And I love that you do that. I think it's a great thing. Politics are great. Religion's great. So, but these are differences. These are ideological differences that people have that separate people and often come between people and groups of people and cultures. That often is the divide is politics or religion. And sometimes it's fortunate, sometimes it's not. So it depends on how you look at it. But on top of that, there's the philosophical ideas. So you have political views, your ideology, right? Your ideological differences, your political views, your religious beliefs, and your philosophical ideas about the world and how you interpret things. So that's like ethics, your purpose, the meaning of life, things like that, which, if you've been listening to my other podcasts or my other episodes, I've talked about how I love philosophy and I love to think about things differently and just process things from a different perspective and take things in and what am I trying to say? From a different angle, right? If someone says something about a certain topic, I want to see what they say. Someone who's knowledgeable about something, I want to hear what they have to say and then hear what somebody else has to say and kind of make my own consensus, right? Make my own formed decision based off of evidence and the knowledge that we have out there in the world or that people think we have, and just kind of make my own informed decision. But ethics and your purpose and the meaning of life, that also comes back to religious beliefs and political beliefs, mostly religious, like the meaning of life. It depends on what you believe. It depends on what you believe. So depending on what you believe, you have the meaning of life, and the way you treat people, your ethics and what's good and bad is based off of that in your religious beliefs. Nietzsche, my man Friedrich Nietzsche, has a really good book. I encourage you guys to do some reading of his. It's can be very dense, very heavy, but very enlightening. He has a book. I forget what the main title is, but it's something good and evil. So something with good and evil. So he talks about where that even comes from, which stems from another book he wrote, which is called Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which talks about Zoroastrianism, which is the guy who came up with the concept of this is good and this is bad, or this is good and this is evil. And that's very interesting to see where that comes from and how that's evolved over time. We don't just automatically think things are good and think things are bad. Like that stems from somewhere, that comes from somewhere. And myself, I like to ask those questions. Why? Where does it come from? Why do I think this way? He also talks about everything else and why we think certain ways. There's a book that's called, my college professor, my undergrad, told me it's one of the, if not the hardest books he's ever tried to read or has read. And that book is called The Genealogy of Morals. And basically that just means the genealogy is like the order of things. Like, how did one thing become another, to become another, to become another, to become another, to get to where it's at now. So the genealogy, the steps that it took to get to where it is now. So, and morals is like kind of how we see things, what we believe, why things are good, why things are bad. So the Genealogy of Morals is a book I haven't read. I've read snippets of it, little extracts from it, but I haven't read the whole thing. I've listened to a podcast called The Partially Examined Life, where they talk about it as well. Even they were kind of struggling to explain some of it, but it's very, again, enlightening. The Partially Examined Life, they take all these philosophical texts and break them down, these kind of hard topics to understand and ideas. And it's great for people like me who don't understand necessarily when I'm reading some of that stuff, what it's saying. So I need someone else to kind of either talk with or discuss it with, and sometimes have them break it down for me and what the author or the person is trying to say. So the Partially Examined Life does that very well with some of these philosophical texts that I like to read or want to read, but tend to struggle with. So yes, philosophical ideas. So those are ideological differences. Sorry, that one took a second. But the last and final one, number 5, the last one, is social and economic differences. Ooh, what's that? Social and economic differences. That's like class wealth, your income, access to resources, social status. Man, that separates a lot of us, because some places, I don't want to say too much. I almost said something I shouldn't have, but some places just have more access and more resources to be educated than others. And so when a boy in a village in a third world country, a poor country, doesn't have access to the same education and knowledge and resources that we have here in America, it's like, that's the difference. The difference is that they don't have access to that, so it puts them at more or less a disadvantage. And I guess you could say it becoming successful, but in my heart, I believe that that person can become successful, right? Of course they can, but it's a lot harder to get the tools and the know-how to be successful in life when you don't have either family support or the resources to further your education, to get support, to understand the system, to make those gains in life. So income and access to resources is a big one for social and economic differences. Class wealth. Educational background, access to knowledge, like I just said. If someone doesn't have that access to knowledge, it makes it very hard to further things along in their life. They could possibly feel stuck in not knowing where to go because they don't have, again, the resources or knowledge or the know-how to make that step forward. So that's tough. And I always try to, personally, one of the reasons I got into teaching, because I like to help people. I like to help people be successful. I started this podcast to help people succeed, to become successful, to pursue their goals, to want to be more successful, to be a better person. So it's hard when I talk about and hear those things, because I do like to help people. So, and lastly on this, we have class wealth, educational background, and lifestyle choices. Lifestyle choices, how people live, how they diet, their work, what they do for their leisure activities. These are hugely different in different countries. Like what we may like to do in our leisure time is completely different than somebody else does on the other side of the world. Maybe, I don't know a good example, but even dieting is different. I know in certain countries, they're skinnier and shorter. And over here tends to be, there's some obesity here in this country. We overeat, right? A lot of us like to sit in front of our TV and just eat. I am so guilty of that lately, and just not getting my workouts in and just like trying to not burn myself out. And so what do? I try to watch an episode of a show, Maybe I'll eat some ice cream. I had ice cream twice this week, you guys. I had ice cream twice, back to back. One day and then the next day. I think it was like Wednesday and Thursday, back to back. I was like, oh, it's too much going on. And I was like, oh, ice cream sounds so good. And it was like my vice. I just wanted to have some ice cream. So we like to indulge. We like to sit down in front of the TV, watch a good show or a movie, and eat some junk food or some food that probably we shouldn't be eating as much of as we do. So I also eat acai bowls, which is really good and healthy for you, but too much of anything is not good for you. So if I eat too many of those, then that's not good either. Not necessarily bad. But anyways, so lifestyle choices, definitely different. Coming to a full circle, all those 5 categories, right, are what makes or how we see each other differently in the world. Those are differences we have: personal differences, cultural differences, biological differences, ideological differences, and social and economic differences. Again, these are things to be aware of, to enhance our lives, to make better judgments, to catch ourselves when we're making those preconceived notions about somebody when we see them at the store and we go, what? I would never do that. Why is this person doing that? They're crazy. They're so weird. Weird. We've talked about that. What is weird? Weird is something different that you're not used to. So you call it weird because you don't know what else to call it, but it's weird to you, but it may not be weird to somebody else. So we just need to be aware of that, right? When all coming together, these differences create diversity, which fosters growth. Growth in us as people fosters growth. It fosters innovation, creating new things, working together. And it fosters understanding. And if we understand each other better, I think the better off the world would be as a whole. Allowing for collaboration, allowing for success, allowing for more love. And this, in turn, creates, I believe, a stronger society. It gives us a better foundation. If we all set aside some of our differences, and come together, God, that sounds like a quote from somebody, but it's true in so many ways. Like, if we just set some of that aside and just understand that we're all people just trying to get through life and have a good time and do the things we want to do without hurting other people, then the rest is it's just so minute. It's so small. It's so minimal. It's so nothingness. It's like, I don't know. But sometimes we take these small things and blow them up into something a lot bigger than I think that it should be. So it's good to recognize these things, which is why we're talking about it, right? That's why we're talking about it. I want us to think like how these differences make us better people. Like, how do differences make us better people? Before we end the episode, that's the thing I want to talk about, is how these things make us better. And I wrote down some things, and one of the things I wrote down was it encourages learning and having perspective, looking at the world from or with a different lens. That encourages learning and having perspective. That is how it makes us better people. Again, coming back to what I was saying earlier, and I've said in a lot of episodes, how to become a better person, a better version of yourself. This is one way, in my opinion. This is one way. Understanding differences in different cultures, with different people, with different things that come up, different traditions, values, beliefs. It encourages learning and having perspective. It promotes resilience. I talked about that with traveling and having those experiences. And it builds resilience, work ethic, that resilience. If it builds resilience, it also gears towards like problem solving. If like with my students working on a math problem, they can't figure it out. But when you give them and you nudge them in the right direction, and then they finally figure it out, they have that resilience and they keep trying. And then they figure out how to problem solve and how to figure that problem out. It's like you've built and you've given them a skill and a tool. And that is applicable to so many different things in life, not just education, but just with everyday happenings in your life, interactions with people, things at work, family, by yourself, just whatever. It's applicable to everything. So that resilience and problem solving, it builds problem solving skills. I had asked somebody, actually, let me take this back. This guy that I worked with at Dean, I worked with at the high school in Denver. said to me once, and he asked the high school kids, he said, what do you guys think the number one thing is a boss wants from you when you get a job? What do you think it is? And everyone's talking about education, a degree, things like that. He's like, no, you're all wrong. He said, your boss is going to want, and they're looking for problem solving skills. They want to be able to give you something that they don't have to deal with. Problem solving skills. And I know that's true for a lot of people. 100%. It's not that not to have a degree, not to do X, Y, and Z and be this way and that way, but have problem solving skills. So I tell my kids at school, I say, think of math, because a lot of kids don't like math. Think of math as building your brain to problem solve. It's creating these neurons and these synapses to fire in different ways so that your brain has the ability to learn how to problem solve, to figure something out. And that is what a lot of jobs will require. They will require you to figure things out, to problem solve. And the more that you can figure things out and solve these problems for your boss, the better off you're going to be. So learn this math, figure out how to solve these problems, and you're not only just building a skill for math, but you're building a skill for the rest of your life, right? And I think if teachers said that in that way for math to a lot of students, they would look at it differently. And they would say, you're right, I do need to figure that out, because you can't argue against that in any job here in America anyways, is that these jobs will want you to figure things out. The boss wants you to figure things out and solve those problems without involving them so they don't have to deal with it, right? One less thing for them to deal with and one extra thing for you to deal with. So problem solving skills. How do these differences make us better people? It inspires innovation through community, which that creates creativity. Discovering new things, right? If we didn't work with other people and have this community and collaboration, then creativity wouldn't be at the stage that it's at. I know, what was it? I watched a movie recently where it was like one of those Armageddon movies where America, Russia, and China had to come together to save the world. So they had to set aside their differences, get on a ship, a rocket ship, go up to the space station and solve some problem, because they each had a different skill set that they brought to the table to figure out how to save the Earth. But they had to be creative. They had to problem solve. There it is, coming together full circle right there. They had to be creative, right? And it inspires innovation, building those rockets to begin with. I know that was there's a Russian guy, I forget his name, but he is known to have figured out the first rocket formula, the rocket science, as they say. He's the one who figured out how to project a rocket into the sky. And it was kind of cool actually learning about that, with how much fuel. Quick little tip or fun fact is that rockets, actually, the reason it's been so complicated is because of all the fuel they have to burn. So those big rockets that you see, it is all filled with fuel. The whole thing is fuel. So that's what takes the most space and weight on a rocket ship, is the fuel. That's rocket science for you. You have to figure out how much fuel you need. And the bigger you get, the more fuel you need, right? And so that's why those spaces that astronauts go in are super small and the rockets are so big. All that extra space, fuel. Rocket fuel. And I thought that was interesting that, it was just, learning stuff new. But yeah, that's why rockets are so big, and because they have all that fuel. So yes, and this also differences how they make us better people. Personal growth through reflection, motivating us to improve ourselves, right? Improve ourselves, understand and clarify our own values and beliefs. The reflection, as the podcast is called, reflecting on ourselves, our lives, the things we do, the things we believe, the things we do day in and day out, the way we think. It's important. It's important, especially if we want to grow and do some of the things that we really want to do. And for me, self-growth is very important. So, yes. So, you know what? I realized too that I didn't do a quote for the relationships episode. I didn't leave you guys with a quote, and I thought that was not cool. So I'm going to do 2 quotes today. One for the previous episode, relationships, and then one for this episode, understanding differences. And again, I hope your holidays are good. Please reach out. Let me know what you guys think. Educate me on something. Let me know how the holidays are going, if you're pursuing your goals. Like my buddy I talked to today who's just getting it in tenfold. I'm really proud of him. But let me know how everything's going. thereflection.pj@gmail.com or on YouTube at thereflection_PJ. So the quote for the relationships episode is, find joy in everything you choose to do. Every job, every relationship, home, it's your responsibility to love it or change it. It's your responsibility to love it or change it. Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote Fight Club. I was looking for a quote for that, and I thought that was a perfect quote for the relationships episode. So find joy in everything you choose to do, every job, every relationship, and every home, but it's your responsibility to love it or change it. That was a good one, right? So the quote that I'll leave you with today is kind of a long one, so bear with me. But I thought it hit it right on the head as I was sifting through this information. Now, the unfortunate part is I do not have an author. I cannot tell you who wrote this. I do not know. So I apologize to the person who did write this. But I thought it really resonated with this episode. So I'll leave you with this. The surest way I've found to move forward in a tough situation or through a challenging relationship is to find a way to honor and respect differences, to learn about others' perspectives and reasons for their perspectives, to recognize that differences provide us an amazing opportunity to learn and to grow, to expand our horizons, to see things differently, and potentially to see things we would have never seen before. Unknown. I thought that was a really good quote for today's episode. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. I love you guys so much and appreciate you. Hope things are going very well. Stay positive, stay consistent, stay driven. And I will, tomorrow is my interview guest episode. So that'll be cool. The next episode is going to be after that. So not the next one, but the one after that is living a stoic life. Like my man, Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, that's going to be a fun episode. So stay tuned for that and stay tuned for the episode. Love you guys. Thank you. Be safe. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And I'll talk to you soon.